Look. I'm making the end tables out of 3/4 inch birch plywood, and I'm getting started by cutting all the parts to size. So I'm basically building a plywood box that will sit on a 3-inch foot. The inside of the box will have ash veneer, and the outside of the box will have zebra wood veneer. I want to veneer the inside of the box before I assemble it, but even before that, I want to band the edge of the plywood with zebra wood molding, and I'll make that on the table saw. I'm cutting strips of zebra wood at 3/8 by 3/4 of an inch. Next, I'll run the molding through the drum sander, and this will remove any blade marks left by the table saw. I'm using a sacrificial fence on the chop saw, and this helps to prevent tear out on the back end of the cut. Next, I'll attach the molding to the front of the plywood with a little glue and 1-inch nails in the nail gun. It's always a good idea to clean the glue up with a wet rag before it has a chance to dry. The veneer is rolled up and shipped to you in a box, and I like to take it out of the box and roll it out on the work table and weight it down the day before I use it. This just takes the bend out of the veneer and makes it easier to cut and to use. It's the next day, and now I'm getting ready to cut the veneer, and I always cut the veneer about 1/2 inch heavier than the piece of plywood that I'm veneering, and that gives you a 1/4 inch overhang that you can clean up with the flush cut bit in the router. The veneer cuts really easy with a sharp blade in the razor knife. The ash veneer is a little bit thicker than the zebra wood veneer, and I weighted it down again just to take some of that bend out before I got ready to use it. I gave all the parts a quick sanding, making sure that the zebra wood edge banding is nice and flush with the plywood surface. Now I'm ready to start veneering, and I'm using contact cement, and I'll apply the cement with a mohair roller. Apply the contact cement to both surfaces and allow it to dry for about 15 or 20 minutes depending on the weather. I'm using sticks to help position the veneer. The sticks won't stick to the contact cement as long as there's no contact cement on the sticks. I'm positioning the veneer with a 1/4 inch overhang all the way around. I'm using a block of wood and applying pressure in the direction of the grain to make sure that I've got a nice tight bond between the veneer and the plywood. Now I'm using a flush cut bit in the router to trim the 1/4 inch overhang. Now that I've finished attaching the veneer to what will be the insides of the cabinet, I can start to build the cabinets, and the first step is to attach the sides to the back. I'm drilling and countersinking holes at 1.5 inches and 7.5 inches. Then I'll flip the tape around and pull from this side and do the same, 1.5 inches and 7.5. Sometimes I like to tack the cabinet together with 1.25 inch nail, and that just keeps the parts from moving around while you're screwing them together. So now that I've attached the sides of the cabinet to the back, let me explain why I'm building the cabinet this way. So not only does plywood sometimes vary a little bit in thickness, but I'm also adding a veneer on the inside, and that's going to change the width of my overall top and bottom. So by building or attaching the sides to the back first, I can now pull from one side to the other and get an exact measurement. I'm just a little bit less than 18 inches, and I should add that when I cut my top and bottom, I cut them 1/8 of an inch heavy. So now I can rip them to exact size on the table saw. Alright, so now I've got both cabinets built and I'm almost ready to start veneering the outside of the cabinets. But before I do that, I want to build the foot, or the base of the cabinet. And to get started, I'll rip strips of 3/4 inch plywood at 3 inches. The base of the cabinet is just a simple frame, and whenever you're cutting multiples of a measurement, it will save a lot of time by setting up a stop block on your chop saw. And so now that I've got all of my parts cut to size, I can start to build the base by attaching the sides to the front and back. And the first step is to pre-drill and countersink holes for the screws. I'm using the nail gun to tack these together and just hold everything in place while I get a chance to screw them together with the screw gun. I'm attaching poplar cleats to the base, and this will strengthen the base a little bit, and it also gives me something to attach the base to the bottom of the cabinet. The best thing to use for wood fill when you're using veneer is auto body Bondo. Okay, well, I'm finally ready to veneer the outside of the cabinet, and the first step is to cut all of the veneer to size. I'll veneer the back of the cabinet first, and I'm using cherry on the back because I was running low on the zebra wood. After the back, I veneered the sides of the cabinet, and then finally the top. Cleaned the overhang up with a flush cut bit in the router, and I gave the whole cabinet a light sanding, and it was ready for finish.